Hi everyone, hope you're having a great day. I am especially. Hope you're all well as well. And today I'd like to just go into this particular subject that occurred to me as maybe very common to many of you, and that is the lie that so many people have been told is actually a symptom of anxiety is the idea of being greedy. Okay? There's two ends to this. One aspect of this, the idea of being greedy, is to be selfish, right? We're told not to be selfish, right? But there's a difference between like self care and selfish, all right? There's a big difference between self care and selfish, and this is where it relates to the idea of the lie we've been told in greedy. All right, we're told things like money is the root of all evil. Rah, 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 rah. Money is just an exchange of energy. It's an exchange between of services. All right. It is I offer you this piece of value in exchange for my time, resource, product, what have you, information, all sorts of different things. Right. But we get told this thing of you can't be greedy and you can't be selfish. So, well, actually, that's not true. Okay, the it comes and the anxiety form of this really comes from our experience as kids, right? Where we're told we can't have something because we can't afford it, or things like that, or the parents are always having disputes over money and resources. Um, or worse, they're telling other people what they can't have, and yet they still do the keep up with the Joneses things, you know. Money and resources are just exchanges of value. That they're just to add to our life experience. Okay, and you're completely within your rights to actually want things and need things for yourself, your future, for your loved ones. And inherently you know this to be true, or you wouldn't upgrade the car or house or upgrade the shitty couch you've been wanting to get rid of for 10 years. These things happen because we know we deserve some comforts and some nice things in our life, but we're often told that we can't have extra. Okay, now there's a big contrast, as I was saying. Selfish is like everything's here to serve me kind of thing, and self care is I'm taking care of what I need to take care of so that it adds to my life experience so much that I can give to others really, really easily, that I can serve others really, really easily. Okay, that's self care, and it's also the big difference between narcissism and being ambitious, right? Being narcissistic is everyone is an extension of me, everyone serves me, rah, 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 right? And how dare anyone else want more than what they want, right? Ambition is I want to serve as many people as I can and help them have a better quality of life, and in return, I can upgrade some things in my own life experience along the way. Very big difference. Okay, ambition and self-care, like adding ambition to self-care is a very healthy attribute. All right, and this is why I tell people and stuff, fill your lists out with your list of 100, with all the things you'd like to have, where you are now to where you'd like to be with your health, wealth, and relationships, and the list of experiences you'd like to have. Okay, and you don't have to put a limit on that whatsoever. All right, when you when you really get to discover all the things I have planned at the higher levels and stuff as I progress and progress and progress, and each time I make my substantial steps, right? I'll release more information on the progression, and that's not to hold back, and it's not out of anxiety or anything like that. It's to do with the fact of I want to encourage you guys to rise alongside our own progress, all right, and not be put off by the progress that I'm having or have had already, okay? And so I'm releasing information as to where I'm going as people in the group grow to become accustomed to the level of ambition we are actually aiming for. Okay, for some people, even aiming for the standard of this group, which is to aim for a $3 million home and $10 million liquid cash lifestyle, that's thinking really big for many people in this group, and I'm okay with that as well. And I don't want to dissuade people from aiming for more than that. I just set that as a baseline because really that's a baseline for true wealth to begin. Okay, because $1 million isn't $1 million like it was 20, 30 years ago, even 40 years, etc. ago. You know, it's 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 come and go at that level. All right, and I know this to be true because my grandparents, they won almost $1 million like 20 years ago, and the first thing that I thought when I heard that they won it is if they can win it, I can make it. All right, and sure enough, as I set upon my path of growing and growing and growing, I watched the rest of the family tear itself apart over the first family war just to get all their resources. Okay, that for the loving, caring grandparents that they were and the simple way that they lived, that money should have lasted the rest of their life really easily with plenty of excess left over because of the way it was organized. All right, but no, our family tore it all apart, and my mother, I'm sad to say, in particular, was one of the worst out of those culprits. And upon my grandfather's passing, because my grandmother passed away like, I don't know, 13 years ago or something, 15 years ago, 14 years ago. My grandfather died a couple of weeks after my father killed himself. And we found that my mum had siphoned like 250 grand out of his accounts in the last several months of him being alive. So there was nothing else left for the family, and the remaining aunties and uncle that were in charge of the rest of the estate of my grandparents, well, they spent the next 7 years debating as to whether or not they were going to sell the house or rent out the house or anything like that, and the house deteriorated so much in the time of being vacant, just sitting there because they could not agree on anything. They didn't know how to have these discussions. That the house is in such disrepair that it's less than a tenth of its value. That's all of that I consider to be. If I was to take it personally, I would say it was an insult to my grandfather and my grandmother for the great home they made out of that place. Okay, and my grandmother was so sweet. When they got all these resources, they got the house they liked and everything else, and everything set up when they first worked out what they were going to do. Everything else was in place, and they had some a fair bit of excess that my grandfather was a watchmaker, all right, and all her life she'd had second-hand watches, okay, and just once in her life, all she wanted as a little treat for herself was to buy herself a nice but new watch. Okay? And for like a good week or so, or especially a day or so in Adelaide in the CBD, all day shopping and like weeks ahead of time shopping around looking for a really nice watch to buy for herself. And she ends up buying a $10 watch from Big W, and she was over the moon. She was happy with that. She just wanted something that was new as far as a watch, rather than second hands and hand-me-downs and ones that people didn't want and that sort of stuff. She was so sweet, and I really wish I could have just got her a really nice watch one day, but I never got around to it, unfortunately. So yeah. And yeah, but like it's examples like that. Like she'd been told all her life like not to be greedy and that sort of stuff, and and so she never really aimed for much. So even though she's a sweet person by heart and everything else and stuff, and that's just the thing she wanted and stuff. Excellent. That was her choice and everything. But what I task you guys with, because most of you are in between the age of 30 and 50. You got plenty of life experience. I mean, they were in their 70s when they won the money, right? You guys are between your 30s and 50s, right? which means if you aim for 100 years old, right, then you've got many, 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 many more decades to go. Right? If you aim for 110, even more decades to go. Right? So Kelly and I just turned 42 today. Kelly is 44. You know, we know that we're aiming for 110. Right? There's no guarantee we're going to get that, but we're aiming for that by the health choices we make today. Right? 90% vegetables, 5% fruit, 5% meat. Right? That means we've got 70 years ahead of us. So we know all the resources that we create and stuff not only are going to last the rest of our lives, but we want to build it and build it and build it, so we have not just the resources for ourselves, but to be able to have and teach how to look after the resources for our children and our grandchildren, so that this becomes generational wealth. Because most generational wealth only lasts 3 generations before it peters out. Okay? Now, again, this is why I say aim for more. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hit every single one, but aim for more. Let yourself aim for more. Because as you fill out the list of 100, right, you'll realize that there is more things that you love, right, and that you'd like to have in this life. And if you're feeling frustrated by the overcoming sensation of the fear of greed or anxiety of that, or maybe feeling like, oh, am I being too selfish? No, let yourself want and need all these extra things. Put them all on the list, right? Because the next list I'm going to get you guys to do is a list of 150 causes, all right? So if you do have that feeling, that sensation of selfishness or anxiety to do with that, or the feeling that you're being greedy or anything like that, you can offset it by how much you give to causes. Okay, you're going to list a whole list of 150 causes, and you compare one to the next, to the next, to the next. I said this, I'm pretty sure, yesterday. Okay? I mean, think of it as J.K. Rowling, okay, the author. She was once borderline homeless. She was on her last dollars, and the only thing she had of any value was herself and I think one of her kids at the time. Right, and she was wondering what the hell to do. All she had was an unfinished manuscript, so she got to work finishing that, and she is now the first, just solely an author, billionaire. Right, the thing that she created is authorship. She is an author, right, and a really bloody good one. So much so that she is the first billionaire author, right, to go straight from there to there. Didn't have to have multiple labels, just one series of books. You know? Secondly, she's also the first billionaire to take herself off the billionaire list by donating a few $100 million to particular charities that she loves and is passionate about. Okay? And she took her time selecting them. You know? So she's using that resource not just to better her life and her kids and everything else, but she's also bettering the lives of the people that she's chosen to support the causes of. Okay? This is how you offset those types of anxieties and the feeling of, am I being greedy or anything like that? You know? Because another aspect to how that turns into is like also considered anxiety. It's a form of who am I not being because I'm worried about what someone else thinks. Alright? Who am I not being because of what someone else is thinking? I actually had an issue like that for myself about a year or so ago that had snuck in to my own way of doing things that I didn't even notice. Like, so for example, you'll notice that there's there's particular things on my walls, right? Before this realization, right? Before this realization, right? I would not usually display these types of things, right? Because I didn't want to hear the commentary of a particular person that was regularly visiting us. So I I was holding back some of who I am in my own home. You know, that's not going to get me anywhere, is it? You know, I am who I am, and I am who I am for a reason. I know what I wish to be. And if I can't even be the full me of who I am in my own home, then how am I supposed to make the impact that I'm aiming for in the world? You know. So what I started doing is once I realized this is like, fuck no, I need to be more me. So I started letting myself bring these things out and like surround me more while I'm doing my thing, because this is the room I spend most of my time in when I'm not out doing other things. You know, so I let more of me come out in the room, right? And wouldn't you know it, the particular person that I was like people pleasing the space for, you know, had a good nosy a couple of times, and now they don't even notice it anyway. So I don't have to hear anything. So I was worried about nothing. And I bet you're doing the same thing to yourself in so many different ways, right? If you're struggling to fill those lists of 100, have a think about the idea of who am I not being, you know, out of worry or concern about what other people think. Okay, because that's another anxiety in ourselves that's mostly been put there by most of the time by other people by saying, "Oh, you can't have that." So actually, no, yes, we can. The question is, how can we have it, right? And that's what happens next as you build your list out, right? As you build your list out, then you start asking, "How can I get that?" Okay, so if you want a trip to Disneyland in the next 3 years, excellent. Well, now you've got a time scale and an idea as to where you'd like to go. All you need to do then is work out, okay, I am here right now. What do I need to do, and how can I get to there within 3 years and save up the 50 grand to have a hell of a time doing it? You know, all completely doable. The question always should be, how can I? Because when we tell ourselves, how can I, we start coming out with solutions rather than more problems. Okay? If you tell yourself you can't, you'll be right there too. But if you tell yourself, how can I, you'll come up with solutions as to how you can. Okay? Anyway, so this is one of those anxieties and little white lies right in front of us that does tend to hide in plain sight. And you'll be very surprised as you unravel the ones on yourself as to how easily they hide within you. You may be hiding ideas in your relationship, your friendships, your family members, and maybe even your work colleagues. Okay, most likely work colleagues, because like we tend to be more of our business persona type thing in workspaces more so than let our whole weirdness show kind of thing, depending on what industry you're in, of course. You know, but in relationships especially, who are you not being? You know, I'll tell you something. One last thing before I log off for the day or on the live is that if you are in a really good relationship and you aim for lots of things, but you're, more importantly, not only are you aiming for them, but you're actually actioning your daily life to go and get those things, well, you automatically become much more attractive to your partner. And if you're automatically much more attractive to your partner, guess what happens as a side effect? Your sex life increases, right? Same thing for when you're single. If you're going to aim for things and people can see you actively going after them, then you're going to attract people that are going to support that idea. Okay? And the weirder we can let ourselves be, the easier it is to work out who's with us and who's not. Who's getting left behind, who's growing with us. Okay? Anyway, Let me know if this has helped you. Please do hashtag value. If you got some value out of this, please do hashtag replay. If you watch the replay, please do hashtag live. If you're watching the live, again, Facebook is not letting me see all the details all the time. So if you can do those things and give us the key takeaways that you're getting, that'd be fantastic. And I will see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.